Now let's take in continuation of this chapter for Sri Lanka. Yeah. So we'll try to understand the composition of Sri Lanka also here. Let us compare this to the situation in another country, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island nation just a few kilometers off to the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. It has about 2 crores of the population. You can see double of that of Belgium, about the same as of Haryana. Like other nations in the South Asian region, Sri Lanka has a diverse population. Again, it is also having a diverse population. Different type of people are living there. The major social groups are Sinhala speakers. They are native people of Sri Lanka. That's why the name is given Sinhala. They speak Sinhala language only. That is the major chunk. So they have 74%. Just you can compare with Belgium. The major was only 59 and this is 74%. So there is a vast gap between one community over there. And the Tamil speaker 18%. Now these Tamil speakers 18% is again further divided into two parts. Okay, among Tamils there were two subgroups. Tamil natives of the country, means those who were born and brought up over there, are called Sri Lankan Tamils. They were 13%. The rest whose forefathers came from India as plantation worker, tea plantation and all that, during colonial period, and are called Indian Tamils. So they are only of 5%, the Indian Tamils. As you can see from the map which is given on that page only, are concentrated. See, these Tamils were concentrated in the north and eastern part of the country. Most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist people. They follow the religion Buddhism, while most of the Tamils are Hindus or Muslims. There are 7% Christians who are both Tamil and Sinhala. So rest of 7% are Christianity, following Christian religions. They can be either Tamil or they can be Sinhala speakers. Yeah, so that is, but they follow Christianity. Just imagine what could happen in situation like this. In Belgium, the Dutch community could take advantage of its numeric majority and force it will on the French and German speaking people, because the gap between two community was not too high. 40% and 59% is 19% only. Okay, so the gap was not too high, but here the gap is very huge. So it is very difficult for the Tamil speakers to put up their voice. This would push the conflict among the communities further. सो यहाँ पे क्या होता था, दोनों का गैप कम था, तो कम्युनिटी के अंदर दोनों के अंदर ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल पावर थे बेल्जियम में. सो दे वर एबल टू पुट देयर थिंग्स, बोथ ऑफ देम. ओके, this could lead to a very messy partition of the country. Both the sides would claim control over Brussels because gap कम था, population अच्छा था, so they can demand for the control. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala community enjoy as an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country because they are 74%, just almost 3/4 of the total population. So they are in a major majority, so they have the power to rule over the other communities over there. Now let us look at what happened in both these countries. We'll start with the working of these countries, how this is working out. So we'll start with the Sri Lankan. As the name is given, majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. Majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, because the majority rulers are working over there. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. The leaders of Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. So they have control over the government because they were in majority. It was not like that people have elected them. They have the control because of their majority. Okay, as a result, the democratically elected government adopt a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. As they were in the majority, so always the decisions were influenced by the people for their majority, and they always work to make it more powerful, the Sinhala community more powerful in Sri Lanka, rather than thinking of the other 18 plus 17, that is almost 26% of the people, those who were living there. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, thus disgrading Tamil. So this was the only thing passed thus to Tamils. Yeah. So somehow this is not good. So here you can see the actions taken by them are more about showing this supremacy rather than accommodating or going along with the other parts of the country, other parts of the people. Okay, so a new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. Now this is about religion, no freedom for the religion. All these government measures coming one after the other gradually increased the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. They felt that none of the major political parties and government policies denied them equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interest. So they felt insecure because the decisions were always taken keeping in mind Sinhala community and over the population. Yeah, so they feel, and they started rebelling. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched a party and struggled for the recognition of Tamil as an official language, for religion autonomy, freedom, and equality of opportunity in securing educations and job. So protest started. Here also there are 2-3 communities, 2-3 religions, but the government works on the majority rather than on democracy. Okay, the distribution between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. So this differences come to it soon turned into civil war. Yeah, war among the communities. As a result, thousands of people of both the communities have been killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and many more lost their livelihoods. Many of them came to India also. Yeah. Sri Lankan's excellent record of economic development, education and health, but the civil war has caused a terrible setback to the social and cultural economic life of the country. We can just make out here that the majority in government forced only one part of the people. Yeah,